Hello everyone, my name is Aditya Chandak. I'm a commerce graduate and I hold a work experience in the 3D visualization space in the architectural domain. I scored a 99.96 percentile in my first CMAT attempt and I secured an All India rank of 24. And I'm currently pursuing my MBA from one of the most sought after colleges of India, that is Jamnal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies. So looking at the current technological advancement and the automation in the AI sector, and especially in the field which I was working in, I was quite sure and I could see in the near future that the advancement would take over the human workforce. If not in all the sectors, but especially in the small, or you could say the basic work where the human workforce won't be required. The robots or the softwares themselves would be that powerful that they would do the work in such a small amount of time when compared to the human workforce. So this made me realize that just doing graduation and a few online certifications won't help me to sail my boat in this long journey. So this is when I decided to pursue my MBA, because at the top of the pyramid, but obviously you'll require someone who would look after the entire functioning of the ecosystem and ensure a smooth workflow in your company. I started my MBA preparation journey in the year of 2019 with a few months left to CAT. Being an average academic performer throughout my life, it was quite challenging for me to compete with some of the smart minds of India and secure a place in the top 3 or 4 percentile of the entire applicants list. But I was driven by motivation. I took that plunge and I decided to get only and only into the top 10 or 15 B schools of India. In my overall 2 years of attempts and preparation, I could nearly touch only 80 percentile in CAT. But I was able to make into the top 3 or 4 percentile of other exams like NMAT, CET, SNAP or CMAT, which after analyzing made me understand I am more suited for speed-based exams rather than for technical or logical-based exams such as SAT or CAT. My strengths were logical reasoning and the quant section. VRC was a complete nightmare for me, which was quite apparent by the CAT examination, but still not getting disappointed by it, and not undermining the fact that CAT is not the only examination for you to get into a premier B school. I shifted my entire focus towards other examinations because the question asked over there aren't that technical when compared to CAT or SAT. In my opinion, if one has prepared efficiently for an examination like CAT, then it's only the GK section which acts as a hurdle for you to getting into JBIMS. So talking about my preparation for GK, I started in the month of October. So I used to watch several free YouTube channels or history videos or consume the written content. I'm not that type of person who can learn a lot or memorize from the written content. So I used to devote 80% of my time just consuming video content and forming notes, jotting them down in a separate sheet of paper. The strategy for me for GK was I used to form a thread of questions from the notes I've already written. For example, if hypothetically there is a crisis or a war happened in a country like Ukraine or Russia, so there is a high probability or there is a high chance that a question related to the Ukraine or Russia would be asked. If not pertaining to that crisis or war, but any question related to the music industry or any other thing, but pertaining to the Russia or Ukraine would be asked. If you analyze the past papers, that there are certain questions, there is a set pattern like 2-3 questions from the music industry, 2-3 questions from the history, 2-3 questions from the geography. So talking about the rest sections of CMAT, I used to devote 40% of my entire preparation time, and that too I used to revise it from the daily test or the sectional test or from the mocks I used to give, because the basics were covered in the CAT examination. I used to devote a separate day of the entire week just to revise all the concepts or the separate notes which I've written, and I used to find new ways of learning or remembering the concepts which I've already written. For the GK section, I would recommend everyone to not underestimate the power of probability and always calculate the chances of you ending into a positive score. For example, if you have attempted only 30 to 40% of the paper and 60 to 70% of the GK questions are still being unattempted, and you are able to eliminate 2 of the given 4 options, then always calculate what is the probability of you ending into a positive score. Because if your dream college is to get into JB or CIDM, you will not enter into that college if you have so many unattempted questions. So it's better to always take that plunge and have a calculated risk for that. Talking about my mock taking strategy, I always started with my strength areas solely for the reason that it is very important for one to give constant shots of motivation as and when you proceed with the paper. For example, if you started with the GK section and it turned out that you're not able to solve majority of the questions, so the entire paper would go for a toss. On the contrary, if you started with your strength areas such as logical reasoning or quants, so with every successful attempt of a question, you would lay a positive mindset. In the initial few mocks, I used to score around 90 percentile, and as and when I increased my depth of knowledge for the GK section, I used to score around 97 to 98 percentile. in all of the mocks which I had taken, I had never crossed the 99 percentile mark. But I was quite sure on the examination day that the hard work which I've put in is definitely going to pay me off. One advice which I would like to give to all the CMAT applicants would be to make the complete use of all the free mocks available on the website or in the textbooks, because these are the sources from which you will understand what are the possibilities of what kind of questions can come in the GK section. So what I used to do with these free mocks was I used to only attempt the GK question and keep my laptop aside and focus on the other part of my studies. So then I would make a whole list, an exhaustive list of all the questions which were asked in these mocks and form a thread of questions of what all questions can be formed from these questions. So to sum it up, it is very important for one to not underestimate the fact that CAT is not the only examination for you to get into a premier B school. There are several other examinations as well, but it is very important for you to understand which type of exam suits you well and formulate your strategy accordingly. And for the GK section in the CMAT paper, it is very important to understand from the examiner's point of view. If you were the examiner, what kind of question would you have posed, or what would be your rationale for setting the examination paper? So my final advice to all the applicants out there would be to first understand yourself and ponder over the fact that which is the best exam which suits you well. There would be too many ups and downs in the entire journey, and you might think of quitting the journey at that particular moment. But at that particular moment only, make yourself understand that why did you start this journey and what was the motivation behind which you started this journey. All the best.